Hello everyone. Today we are talking about an interesting topic that affects people of all ages. We're talking about blended families. I'm Shamika Sanders, and beside me are my lovely co-hosts Kiara Kelly and Brandy Victorian. Hey girl! Hey. Pull up a seat because Listen to Black Women starts now. Merriam-Webster defines blended families as a family that includes children from a previous marriage of one spouse or both. According to the Pew Research Center, statistics show that approximately 1/3 of all weddings in America today form stepfamilies. It's 42 million people. Julia Austin stated in an article for MadameNoire.com, that's us, when you take on someone else's child, not only do you have to get used to being that child's parent, but he or she has to adjust to you. And you may be far from what he or she is used to. Which brings us all to our question of the week. Beauties, how do you create a successful blended family?
Blended families are basically all I know. You know, my mother and father were never married. My mom married when I was like 8. Her husband then had a daughter, so I had a stepsister. My dad married when I was 12. Stepmother, half brother. My mom remarried. Her husband now has 2 kids. Like there's, you know, it's all I've ever known. I think it's very difficult in the beginning. But I think it can work. You know, I think for me, like, interestingly, with my stepfather initially, you know, for him, he always was like, this is my daughter. He never separated me from his biological daughter. But then for her perspective, it's like, well, I never got to live in a home with you, you know, the way that I did. You know, and so she has a different experience being the biological child and not feeling his love, where I'm like, well, this man loves me like I'm his own. It's good for me. So it can affect children in different ways, for sure.
Yeah, Kiara, how about you?
Yeah, I think that's important what you touched on, because blended families vary. So I think when you're looking at what makes a successful blended family, you have to consider the different varieties and situations that these blended families are birthed from. And I think another thing that we notice in blended families is a lot of times the woman has to carry the mantle of having to create this cohesiveness among family members. And I think a lot of times they could do that to the detriment of themselves, you know, but I think overall the health and happiness of the woman helps her be a better wife and a better mother. So it's important that women make themselves a priority as much as they can.
Oh, very, very good points. We are seeing in pop culture, blended families are not necessarily the first representation of families you see on TVs and films, but in celebrity culture and life, this is a thing we are seeing more of. Alicia Keys, Mashonda, and Swiss Beats came out and they created a book together. Alicia Keys made a song about it. They're probably one of the biggest examples that we know of with blended families. But we are seeing it more often, but we aren't talking about the nuances and the negative associations with it. Because then you have people like Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union who are in a blended family, but we don't talk about the quote-unquote break baby being a part of that blended family. So there are a lot of dynamics that we aren't touching upon. Ladies, what do you think about this?
No, I agree completely. And then even with that, we're talking about celebrities with money. So you can afford to go to therapy maybe and work through some of those things. Or, I mean, I'm probably going to get over my heartbreak a little bit more if you could take me on a lavish vacation. And we can, you know, and I'm like, that's different versus I'm trying to get my baby daddy to pay me child support while he out here with his new family and paying for them to go on vacations, you know? So the financial part is huge.
So let's take it to the tweets. Alexa Randolph tweeted, "Me and my boyfriend are introducing my 2-year-old to his 4-year-old tomorrow, and I'm so excited. Hashtag blended family." She is so happy to be a blended family.
That's cute.
I mean, who knows how long they were waiting to do the kid intro. Some people wait a while before they get that all in the mix. So it might be like even a relationship pinnacle for them.
Wife Up tweeted, "Take your children out alone so they are reassured you love them. Today I took my firstborn out to breakfast early for his 10th birthday before we have our family dinner." You know, that can go really right or it can go really wrong. I just feel like that child or the other children are going to be like, here you go, playing favoritism again.
You got to know your kids and what they need and like decide as parents, because I even think like when it comes to discipline, you know, like you got to set those parameters. You're my man, but that's not your child. Like, I need you to love that child and care for it, but can I let you put your hands on it? You know, that kind of thing. Discipline and who gets to do sports and who gets this money and all that. Like, you've really got to be in sync as parents and the co-parents outside of that,
So now let's get into the polls. Let's see what you guys were saying on hellobeautiful.com and MadameNoire.com.
So we asked you all, blended families don't work out well because, with 46% of you saying people become bitter after relationships fail and don't want to put in the work again. Makes sense. 42% said they are too messy, complicated, and exhausting, also a fair point. And 12% said step-parents will always love their biological children more than their stepchildren. Yeah. But I can definitely see how bitterness can make things real tense.
Yeah. I have male friends whose children are like 11 and 13, and the mothers are as bitter as the day they gave birth. The woman wouldn't even let them take like a family photo together on his graduation because she didn't want to be involved. I'm like, you're not really ready. Yeah. Probably weren't ready to be a parent.
And also with the bitterness, you know, I've seen some situations where the mother is so bitter about what happened with the father that she looks at the child as a reminder of what happened in that relationship. And so that's another reason to let it go too, because then ultimately the child starts paying for you being angry.
My ex, he had 2 children, but there was one thing I did have to think about though, because even when we talk about these words, we use like bitter and things like that. I always thought about the woman. This is someone who thought they were going to have a family. So I understand the bitterness, and if it takes a long time. These things are hard.
So since we've been talking about Mashonda and Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys so much, we thought it was only right if we actually talked to Mashonda herself, which we did. And during the conversation, Mashonda definitely had a very mature standpoint. I mean, we all know the infamous letter that she wrote to Alicia Keys several years ago, basically saying, please leave my husband alone. At this point, they're now at a place where they're writing books together, which is nice. But, you know, she talked about it literally took 6 years, she said, before they could even be around each other and like not be in their feelings. But she said she realized she had to check her ego, get her ego straight in order to basically co-parent. And she realized that with her son Kasim, you know, he was the one who was ultimately going to suffer if she didn't kind of get on board with the situation. Do you think that that's really realistic?
I don't think you gotta do all that, sis. Like, you ain't gotta be on the beach with him unless you got a big backed man with you and you're like, oh, he's paying for this vacation, let's go. You know, and then your happiness is also at the same level that his happiness is at. Otherwise, I don't need to go on vacation with you and the woman that you left me for, that you have this beautiful relationship with. Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that attitude, or even, you know, everybody deals with their hurt differently, but I think you have righteous anger attached to your man leaving you for another woman. And so even with, I know everyone's like, undo the ego and stuff, but she had every right to be as mad as she was. Yeah. And I think sometimes, you know, we rush to the mature thing to do is to just accept what's going on. You can accept something and still not be cool with it. Whatever you can accept and do for yourself, your health, your happiness, it's all good.
All right, ladies, another insightful conversation as usual, but what do we leave with our audience? What are some steps we can take to make our blended families work more cohesively?
I think the bottom line is you have to be willing to love someone else's child as if they were your own, but also respect the fact that you're not their own. You know, if you're stepping in a supplemental parental role, you know, respect that they have a biological parent who's going to be that first, you know, defense, but you also need to have the same love for them as you would, you know, if you gave birth to them or they were your biological child.
I would just say for women to really prioritize your health and your wellness and your happiness, because I think that contributes to the health and happiness of the child.
Yeah. As someone who was in a stepmother figure, I think it's just really important to be empathetic and understanding of the situation and why you're in the situation in the first place, especially what that woman or baby mother is going through, and just use your moral compass. I had to tap a lot into just being like, this is just the right thing to do, and check myself. You know, not necessarily like disregarding my ego, but at the end of the day, a child is an innocent being, and you can't allow it to overtake you to the point that you're cruel to that child. So it's a lot of checking involved. It's a lot of self-reflection and dealing with issues that may hurt, but you have to deal with it just to get to the next level in your life anyway. So ladies, another great topic, another great episode. You can find that interview with Mashonda on Hello Beautiful and MadameNoire.com. Make sure you tune in next week. Until then, bye.